My father taught me the gift of gratitude. The way he did that was every night when we got through eating, we had to say, "Thank you, Mom, for fixing our dinner," and take our plates to the sink. If we forgot to do that, then we had to come back and sit down in our chair for 5 more minutes before we went outside to play. After you sat in that chair a few nights, you started to remember. Every night, we had to say thank you. All these years later, every time, I will still say thank you to Marcia or whoever might be cooking a meal that I get to enjoy, and it spills over into all of life.
I just want to share with you 3 things. First of all, he always told me that he loved me, and that he loved me no matter what. Second of all, he said, try your best, and no matter what the outcome was, he'd always be proud of me. And lastly, he said, always be thankful to those around you, and be thankful for the blessings that you have in your life. And I think he lived out all 3 of those. I just wanted to tell him that I love him. Thanks, Dad.
One of the things I always loved about my dad was his willingness to face adversity and conflict quickly and peacefully. He taught me so many lessons in life, but that was a very important one. I grew up with an older brother and a younger sister, so you can imagine that on occasion we might have an argument or a disagreement or hurt each other's feelings. He would often say to us, just remember, you can get glad in the same pants you got mad in. He always felt like we needed to deal with conflict that day. He expected us to sit down and talk about it, to work out a plan, and then let it go. Now that worked better sometimes than others, but I always loved my daddy for teaching me the virtue of being a peacemaker.
I think the best advice that my dad ever gave me was the only thing that you can plan on is that it's not going to turn out how you planned. So my family would always help out with folding laundry. So he would make these huge sock snowballs, and we would have forts and throw them at each other, and it just kind of goes to show that even the most mundane tasks can become fun.
I asked my dad one time, how do you make good time on a trip when you're driving somewhere? And his best advice is this, and it's really smart: keep the left door shut. He's so wise and so wonderful, and my thinking is this: my dad's better than your dad.
What I remember about my dad telling me is to make memories and not just do things, and that's the biggest thing I have, and I try to do with my family is anytime we're doing something is to make a memory of it and not just do something.
It was over 20 years ago when suddenly my mom died. She had a heart attack, and it was a big shock to our family, needless to say. And after that happened, my dad never missed an occasion to say to myself, my sister, my brother, I love you, every time he'd see us. And we started saying that back. My dad unfortunately died about 3 weeks after my mother died. We took that advice, and my siblings still today, and people I know and care about, we tell them that I love them. That was the best advice my dad gave me right at the end of his life.
The best advice my dad ever gave me is something I've heard my entire life at the dinner table. Whenever he finishes saying grace, he says, keep us ever mindful of the needs of others, always putting others first and having a servant heart.
My dad was a doctor. He was a hematology-oncology doctor, cancer and blood, and the 2 things that I remember him telling me were, number 1, never eat hot dogs, number 2, never eat lunch meat because they have nitrites in them that cause cancer, and the second thing was, never use bathroom spray because it causes aplastic anemia.
Hi Daddy, I love you. Happy Father's Day. I'm sorry that I was texting you during your meeting.
Hi, my name is Abby, and my grandfather helped me through my faith. Thank you.
You're a great dad. I love you. You are the best dad in the universe. I love you. Bye.
I love you, Daddy, so much. I'm sorry that you have poison ivy on you. Happy Father's Day.
And happy Father's Day. I love you.
When my oldest son Aaron, who is now 23, was born, my father found me crying when he was only a few days old because he was going to grow up and move out of my home. My dad very lovingly told me that he was not my son, but he was God's son, and that God would love him more than I could ever love him, and protect him more than I could ever protect him. My father also very wisely told me, God prepares you for that day by giving you the teenage years, so when that time comes, you are more than happy to open the door, allow them to spread their wings and fly.
My dad is the strongest man that I know, and he has passed on that strength to me, and I think that's what's helped me overcome most of the obstacles that I've had in my life. And he is the best grandpa to these two little ones.
I love you very, very much. I hope you have a great church day.
We love you, Dad. Thanks.
One of the most important life lessons that his papa and my dad has taught me is just as simple as the golden rule. There was never a person that I ever saw that my dad didn't treat as he should. What is your favorite thing that you love about Papa?
That he's a good grandpa and he plays with me a lot.
He plays with you a lot?
Yeah, and he's a good grandpa and he's so much fun and he takes to me movies and a lot of other stuff.
Awesome. All right. Love you, Dad. Love you, Papa.
I love you, Papa.
My dad, of course, has a lot to do with who I become. I'll never forget when I was out mowing the lawn, 6 months pregnant with my daughter, and he pulls up to the house and freaks out because he thought, "What are you doing mowing the lawn?" But I thought, "You taught me how to do this. This is what I'm supposed to do." He forgets how strong he has made me. And so I love you, Dad.
My dad was a chaplain in the Air Force. He always saw the good in everybody. He told us there's good in everyone. That's a lesson that I try to live with, because when I see the good in everyone, we are such a good community together. I love him. He's been in the kingdom of heaven for 16 years. I miss him every day, but his lessons never leave me. Love you, Dad.
As long as I can remember, we were going to go to Sunday school and church. That was just something we did, and there wasn't any discussion. He would honk the horn. We'd all come dragging out. He would roll down the window and say, "All aboard. If you can't get aboard, get a shingle." Well, we just moaned and groaned, but I still have those friends. I know I can still count on them. So thanks, Daddy. I will always love you, and I miss you very much.
I knew the story of how my father was a first sergeant artillery gunner in World War II, and how when his unit was struck by heavy artillery fire, he had to pick up an artillery shell by himself and injured his back. I only knew my dad with a hurt back. I couldn't imagine him running or even bending over. Today, I am glad to be the only daughter of Paul Edward Fitzgerald Sr. I just hope he's proud of me.